Hey everybody. Hello, hello, hello. I'm going to give it a few minutes for everyone to come on. It's 10 o'clock, straight up 10 o'clock where I am. If anyone's here, give me a hashtag live. Oh, I see 3 people popping on. Just let me know y'all can hear me and see me. Good morning, Jenny. Yay. How are you? Everybody put a hashtag live and tell me where you're coming in from. I'd love to know where people are coming in from. Jenny, I know you're from Indian Harbor Beach, Florida. All right, I see some people popping on. How are y'all doing today? It's a rainy, dreary day here in Georgia. Okay, hey Jessica. Yay, Jessica made it. Jessica, I want you to go onto your Facebook page and put a picture of you on there. It's been so long since I've seen you. All right, everybody. Good morning, good morning. As most of you know that are here, my name is Dr. Cindy Stark. I am an internal medicine doctor here in Gainesville, Georgia. Hey, Andrea, that's my long lost cousin, Northeast Georgia, born and raised. We got some Georgians in the house. Okay, thanks, guys. It's good to see y'all. So my name is Dr. Cindy Stark. I practice medicine here in Gainesville, Georgia. I'm a hospitalist at the big hospital here, and unfortunately, that gives me like this front row seat to all kinds of extremely sad, pitiful, sometimes reversible or preventable diseases. And I think, being a doctor for 30 years now, I kind of like started seeing these patterns in people. People were kind of stuck with this body and with this mindset that they have, and they thought they couldn't do anything about it. And here we doctors are. I mean, we know, I always tell people what fits on the tip of a little tiny pin right here is what doctors know about diseases. God knows everything about it and how everything happens. But what we know would literally fit on the tip of that pin. And so we do the best we can with clinical trials and trying to get people feeling better, but lots of times we're just masking symptoms, okay? And what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is how emotions are stored in the brain. And when you find out how emotions are stored in the brain, you're going to see very apparently, I hope, and if it's not, then y'all just talk to me in the comments and I'll keep, hey Melissa, and hey Pat, and I will keep trying to describe things and explain things until you understand, because it makes sense to me. And I'm going to kind of, I ask God before I come onto these lives every Tuesday at 10, help me reach your people and say things in a way that will make sense to people. And so he gave me a couple of downloads this morning, and I am going to really try to make y'all understand why things happen, why you are not broken, why things continue to happen on auto repeat, almost like you're stuck in a terrible record that you don't really want to be listening to. And then why we as doctors specifically do certain things to try to fix it, but it doesn't fix it at all, because you're just stuck in this soup of neurochemicals that's just destroying you and ridding you with like anxiety and stress and overwhelm. Okay, so I want y'all to I just want to tell everyone, welcome to my group, welcome to my program. It's my honor and my pleasure to be here with you guys. I found some tools about 30 years into my healing journey that I am now set on a mission for the rest of my life to share with anyone else that God will bring to me. And these are tools that have helped me reverse literally 30 years of self-destructive behavior. I was unfortunately sexually mistreated in a very obscure, dark, disturbing way in my childhood at age 14 in my own bed, at the hands literally of young men that I did not know who they were or how many of them there were. I just we were left at home alone with my parents were just elsewhere, back in the 70s, and we were left at home alone, little 14-year-old Cindy with a bunch of very drunk and very stoned, and I guess very hormonal 19-year-old boys that were the friends of my brother, and things would happen to me in my bed after I went sleep at night. And I'll always say that that is not the trauma. That is terrible trauma, and no little 14-year-old girl should ever go through that. And certainly if they did go through that, they should be able to feel like they could talk to their parents about it and get something stopped about it. But that's not, unfortunately, how it went in my house. And even though no little girl should have to go through that, that's really not the trauma that happened to me in my body and in my developing little brain about sexuality and what love was, and what attention was, and what you could bring to the world. What really is what the effect of that trauma was is what I made that believe about myself for the rest of my life. I set on a journey, unfortunately, of about 20 years of just self-destruction. Really, just I had told myself I was unlovable and unworthy of protection, I should say. That was the biggest thing, is I was just unworthy of protection. And so I set out unconsciously for the next 20 years just to prove to myself in every way, shape, and form just how unworthy of love and protection I was. And I've destroyed the most important relationships in my life. And through the grace of God, I was able to finally heal the trauma that actually caused those belief systems that were making me work and do these things the way that I was doing them. And that's what I'm here to bring to y'all today. Little snippets, because it's been a huge journey, and I don't want to overwhelm people, and I like to keep these lectures in little digestible 30-minute bites or less. And so just know that this is my third one I've gone to. So if you want to go back and re-listen to the first two on how trauma is stored in your body, then oh, my mom can't get the sound. I don't know what to tell you, Mom. Everybody else can hear. Just try to turn your, hey, Shayna, try to just turn your volume up, Mom. So what I'm coming here to tell you guys today is that healing is a journey. And like I said, I have probably been to every kind of healer there is. I mean, even as a doctor, I feel like that was my first healer that I went to. Was just a lot of education, trying to figure out what it was that caused what happened to me when I was a little girl, make sure that none of that happened to my own little girl, which I'm happy to say she's 19 and has been safe. And then also just all kinds of psychologists and preachers and secular counseling and Christian counseling. And unfortunately, I just kept repeating these horrible mistakes at a subconscious level. And what I really want to come in here, the biggest overarching belief and knowledge that I want to come in here and impart to you guys every Tuesday at 10 is that your brain runs your whole entire life. And the very first thing that got developed when your mom's sperm met your mom's egg was the neural tube. And to me, that is just a really good evidence that your brain is the most important thing. You know, we can replace the heart, we can replace all kinds of organs, but you can't replace your brain. It runs the show. And so it's a really good idea if we figure out how to run our brains. And the really interesting thing about it is that 96% of what happens in our brain is our subconscious mind, and that runs the show, from everything rest and digestion to your emotions and your beliefs. And you think that you can just by sheer willpower and grit and determination affect something in your life, but that's really just 4% of the frontal lobe that's running the show there. So my hope is that I kind of give y'all an idea of how to communicate with your subconscious brain and do it, get it to do what you want it to do, so that you can be the ruler of your life and have choices and freedom. Because there is nothing more frustrating and heartbreaking to me than living your whole entire life feeling like you are running on this auto program that you're not, it's not what you would choose for yourself, but it's stuck in there and it's running the show, and you're getting a whole bunch of just terrible things after terrible things after terrible things, and you're finding these awful boyfriends or abusive relationships or roommates that don't, pay their rent, or dead end jobs, or you're in the middle of a life that you're in charge of, you're running the show, but it's not the life you want. And so I'm just here to tell you guys that you can harness the amazing, wonderful power of your brain. And that's what I have figured out how to do through all my years of healing journey. And I'm here to share it with you guys now, just snippets at a time. So again, what I want you guys to know is that trauma is not actually what happens to us, is what we make ourselves believe about ourselves with it. And the trauma is it actually gets stored into the microscopic tissues of our body. Thank you, Melissa. You're so sweet. And I'm a geneticist too. I didn't think it was enough to get an MD and be an internal medicine doctor. I also really wanted to understand how things worked in our body. So I also got a PhD in molecular genetics. And, they never told me about how emotions and trauma were stored in the DNA, but I know exactly all of this microscopic detail of just exactly what happens when thought processes go in your brain and how you can turn genes on, and that's what actually causes the genes to be turned on, is different things that are stored there. Again, what did I tell y'all about doctors? They only know this much, right? What fits on the pin of a head, the head of a pin, and so it is that trauma in there that's stored on the cellular level that leads to all kinds of destruction. Genes do not get turned on that are supposed to get turned on, that are there to clean up. And I don't know how many of y'all can drop a hashtag autoimmune disease, but how many of you guys have any kind of autoimmune disorders? And what happens is that when we have been exposed to trauma in our life and it gets stored on a cellular level, and the genes actually get turned on and off in abnormal ways that are destructive to our body and detrimental to the workings of our body, then what you present with is an autoimmune disorder. And the doctors will treat it usually by immunosuppressants to knock down your immune system. And the only thing that doctors know how to do is to put you on immunosuppressants, which knocks your body's immune system down, where they never really thought about going about 20 years back to what caused all of that destruction in the first place. And you can actually heal that trauma, and then none of this stuff downstream 20 years later will ever have even occurred. So what we think happens in our body is that we take on information with our eyes. It passes through our unconscious brain, gets stored there, and then we have these conscious thoughts about it. But what actually happens is that from age birth to about age 7, these belief systems were 95% of them were formed, and we have certain thoughts and beliefs about who we are. And what happens is that all that we see in our body and in our lives, bypasses the thinking brain, and then before it even gets stored in the subconscious brain, it goes through this thing called the reticular activating system, and I'll call that RAS. And basically what it is just the filter of our unconscious mind, and it is what's running the show in our body. Okay, it's made up of beliefs and it's completely due to our societal programming, our parental programming, any program that we received at school. And what happens is that when it gets filtered through the RAS, then it gets presented to your frontal lobe through a distorted filter. Okay, and then you will actually, if I hope I'm making sense, I feel like I'm tripping on my words a little bit right now, but what gets stored in your subconscious mind and then what gets presented to your eyes, they have to match each other. So you will see all these things around you that are perfect examples that you're worthy, and that you're lovable, and that you're important, and that you're amazing, and that you're kind and gentle and generous. But if what's in the back of your brain doesn't tell you that that's actually what is going on in your body, your subconscious mind, in order to protect you, it just matches everything here on the outside with what's here on the inside. Okay, and so what was happening with me is that I was only seeing the evidence that I was unworthy, and I was in one destructive relationship after another, and I hurt the people that I love the most just to prove to myself, yep, see, you're unworthy again. So I hope that makes sense. And that's why the reason that happens is that we are presented with 2 million bits of information per second into our unconscious mind, but the only part that our frontal lobe here can handle is only 126 bits a minute. So if you think about 2 million versus 126 bits, our subconscious mind is having to delete and generalize and distort 99.99% of that to match what we can actually consciously even take care of. Okay, so that's why things right here in our body and in our whole entire lives, in our worlds, get deleted and generalized and distorted. How many of y'all have ever been looking for your keys or the sunglasses on your head, and they're right there the whole time? It's just because your your body did not see that as something important enough to be seared into your conscious memory, and then someone else that's looking from the outside in can say, oh, there it is right there in your hand or on top of your head. That's kind of how it happens. And what I want to also impress upon you today is that with everything that we've gone through in our life, and every one of us have gone through things, because of the way that our brain works, and because we subconsciously do unfortunately self-sabotage ourselves, and we see things in a distorted way just by the sheer nature of how our brain works, you have to give yourself grace, okay? I'm 51 years old. I don't know how old everybody is here, but I've made some mistakes. And instead of thinking that you are so screwed up and so broken, and I used to always say, I'm effed up, I'm not going to say the F word here, but I just would always say, I'm effed up. And I'm really not. It's just that my brain was taking some terrible, terrible information that happened to me and making something out of it that was not even true. And you have to have the tools to be able to undo all that damage so that you can actually live a different life. So give yourself some grace and let yourself know right now, if I'm not the first person to tell you, let me be one person today, and hopefully people will tell you this for the rest of your life, but you are not broken, and you're trying to do the best you can with what you have. And as you go through, if any of you are ready to find healing and actually be able to live the life that you want to live, book a call with me, and let's see. I can be found at therealdrcindy.com/apply, and that'll lead you right to my booking calendar, and we can talk for about an hour, and we can see if you're ready for healing. Because what happens is you can go through healing little tiny bit by little tiny bit, read a book here, read a book there, but if it doesn't match that that filter, right? What's in that filter, the reticular activating system, then within 2 weeks, all of that is going to be for nothing. And you're going to go right back to your same patterns, because what you have to actually work on is the filter itself. Yeah, so Jenny's over here saying, this makes more sense to me than any doctor has ever treated me with. Anxiety, which has decreased 95%. So Jenny is one of my VIP clients right now, and we have been working with her for she's about 2/3 the way through my program right now. And if you work with me in my program, I've developed a 12-week transformational health program to identify every one of your influences that has wreaked havoc in your life. We start with your mother, your father, your siblings, any spouses, and also your children. But then also we do a deep dive to figure out who else has caused any kind of negative belief systems that are in the back of your head. And let me just draw this out. So what we do is we go through the big emotions. So you got fear, anger. I hope y'all can read this. I'm going to use this pen right here. Fear, anger, sadness, and guilt. Okay, so we find out these are the top 4 emotions that are running our lives, and then we also go through all of your different influences in your life. Okay, so you have your dad, your mom, any spouses that you've had, and any kind of other influences, any important people. Okay, so just think about it at age so why these 4 negative emotions and other emotions run your brain is because we have these things in our subconscious mind called gestalts. Okay, and you can think of it like a bag. I'm a terrible artist, so I'm just going to draw a bag like that, just like a U. And just imagine when you are 2 years old, or maybe even 2 months old, you got scared because your mom left you somewhere, or you were hungry. Okay, and then when you were about 1 year old, you got afraid of somebody that was babysitting you, and they scared you because there was a loud noise. These are gestalts, bags of emotion. They keep getting filled up. Then by 5 years old, you got afraid by somebody, someone in your elementary school. Okay, and then some terrible girl in middle school also made you afraid because she was being mean to you on the playground. And then go up to high school and you have a boyfriend that you were afraid of. And then, I'm just using my own life. And then medical school, you're afraid you were going to fail out because biochem was so hard. And then you're afraid you're going to get fired at one of your jobs. Okay, so these things fill up. And then what happens when this gestalt gets filled up, and this one does, and this one does, and this one does, one of 2 things will happen once they get filled up, guys. Number one is, if you get afraid again as a 51-year-old, you're going to revert back to how you acted when it very first started getting filled up. So you're acting like a 2-year-old child. Like, think about road rage, okay? The other thing that could happen is they get filled up and they spill over and you end up getting sick, terribly sick. How many people of you guys, how many of you guys have gotten, you think it's normal to get sick, like 2 sinus infections a year? How many of y'all have had, I mean, this is just awful. I think about back onto my teenager years. I literally got strep throat twice a year, had to be put on antibiotics twice a year because the stress of being in college was just too much, and my gestalt would get filled up and I'd get 103 fever. I thought I was going to die. I thought I was, strep throat twice a year for I don't even know how many years. So that means my gestalts have been filled up for all that time. Anyway, I kind of got off track. So these gestalts get filled up. That's what happens when they get filled up. You either revert back to an age when it makes no sense how you act, or you get sick. But when you work with me in my program, this is what Jenny has done, so her anxiety has decreased 95%, is that we identify every one of these negative influences in your life, or just any kind of influences. It can even be a positive influence. It's someone that has created a belief system in your brain that you have no idea what it is. And we identify, how did your dad make you, your dad make you scared? How did you, in what way were you angry at your dad? In what way did something with your dad make you feel sad? In what way did something with him make you feel guilty? And we clear each one person, every single one, each person by every single emotion. And then at the end, once you clear all of your influences, if you join my program, then we do a one-on-one call and we clear all the negative beliefs. So we clear fear, and then we clear anger, and we clear sadness, and then we clear guilt. And what is going to end up happening is that the belief systems that are in the middle of all of this, once you clear your belief systems, this whole entire thing, it's just like removing a linchpin and a whole entire building falls down. And then your filter is finally clean, and you can finally act from a place where you are clean and you are pure and you are whole and you're healthy and you're healed, which is how we were all supposed to be, perfect in God's image. But we're just so mucked up because of all this stuff that's been stuck in our subconscious brain. Okay, so left unchecked, anger can lead to rage. And how many of us know people? This last year, I have never seen so much rage in my life as what I've seen in this country and all over the world. I literally feel like this is what we're seeing in the news over this last year is just a sign of everybody getting so full of anger that their rage is just boiling over. And they started doing ridiculous, terrible, awful things. Killing police officers, knocking down the statues, stealing left and right, whole entire counties here in my country. I guess we're all from America here. Some counties are wanting to leave their state because of the ridiculous stuff that they've been seeing go on in their states. Thank you, Deborah. Deborah's an amazing case manager. She helps me take care of all my patients at the hospital, although I think she's retired now, so I don't get to see her anymore at all. But anyway, left unchecked, anger turns into rage, sadness turns into depression, fear turns into anxiety, and then guilt turns into shame. And I don't want you to be shaming all over yourself. And what Jenny and other people realize is when you're so anxious because you've been so full of fear your whole life, and the only thing us doctors know how to do is put you on anti-anxiety medicines, long-acting ones like Celexa, Prozac, Wellbutrin, and short-acting ones like Xanax, Ativan, Valium. And all it does is just dumb down the symptoms. It's just like putting a wet blanket on embers of a fire. It doesn't do anything to the fire. The fire is still in there, just raging, wreaking havoc all over your body. Oh, but you feel like a zombie, because at least you've gotten your neurochemicals kind of dampened down a little bit, so you can actually go to work for a day. But you haven't done anything to what's causing it. Okay. So just know that is how all of that works. All right. And if you feel like you are at the end of your rope and you're feeling like you're overwhelmed, well, that's why. It's just because all your gestalts are filled up. And again, it's not your fault. You're not broken. And it almost makes you addicted to being in this neurochemical soup of rage. It's like your body doesn't even know how to act if you're not full of cortisol and norepinephrine and adrenaline. So again, your body will find ways to make sure that you're flooded with those kind of damaging neurochemicals. So what I'm going to do is kind of just go through a process. I've talked too much. So we're 24 minutes going, and I wanted to keep this at 30 minutes. And I want to talk to you about not only how emotions are stored in your body, but what you can do about them. So the way that our subconscious mind works is that it you can't just read stuff and it takes it on. You really have to feel the feelings of it. It's very spatial. You have to be able to taste things and see things and smell things. That's how we can really get some change happening at our subconscious mind. Okay, so I'm going to just go right back down to the very end of this, what I wanted to cover today, and go through this. Because when you realize that you can actually get rid of the emotions that are wreaking havoc in your life, you will have the biggest level of self-awareness and self-trust, and your body will know that you can trust it to be able to take care of it. All right, because what actually ends up happening, I think, is that we let ourselves down more than we let anybody else down. How many of us do everything we can to take care of our children, do everything we can to take care of our husband, do everything, thank you, Shana. I hope I'm saying your name right, Shana, not Shauna. I appreciate those words more than you know. I'm really trying to support all of us, because I really just feel like we're going through this life blindsided and blinded, you know. And so I really just want to share with everyone what I was able to learn to finally give myself some freedom and some choice. Because as Americans, I think we all really like to feel like we are free. And when you are in shackles because of your brain, it really is infuriating, you know. So what I want to do is help you guys be able to get rid of the emotion. So the first thing I want you to do when you're having an emotion, I want you to really feel that emotion and feel it, like let it just fill up your whole entire body, okay? And see where it is that you feel it the most. Most of us are not used to even naming the emotions that we experience, much less identify where we're feeling them in our bodies, okay? So again, when these gestalts are filled up, you'll end up, it's called somatization, but you end up feeling one of the emotions somewhere in your body. So like when I feel unworthy of protection, I feel this kind of crinkly gray ball, and I feel it in my heart, because it's like heartbreaking, and it's just this loneliness feeling. And so you got to identify where you feel it in your body, and let yourself describe. You can just do this quietly in the comfort of your own home or in your car, even when you're driving down the road, and just say, what am I feeling right now? Identify it and say, I'm feeling unworthy, lonely. And where am I feeling it? I'm feeling it in my heart. And what does it feel like? And it's like this this amorphous gray mass, like a dried up prune. And then what I want you to do is ground yourself outside or just in your house. Just imagine yourself, I take my shoes off, I'm doing it right now, and just imagine myself grounding with the energy in the earth, because we are all here. We're protected. God wants us to have the best life we possibly can have, and just get yourself grounded, okay? Feel the emotion, identify it, imagine everything else that it's causing you to feel in your life. Okay, now I want you to honor that emotion and thank it for what it's doing. Okay, thank it for whatever it is. If you are feeling anxious about, about a terrible customer, well, that anxiety is serving you. It's teaching you to probably not be taken advantage of by your customer, or not be talked to in a hateful, ugly way. It's the boundaries are good. Okay, so honor it, ask it what it's there to teach you. And then what I do, and what I recommend you do, and I'm not going to do it right here in front of you because my eyes will be closed and I want to keep my eyes open, but just close your eyes and just think back to any of your past versions of yourself. So for me, it'll be any past versions of Cindy that ever felt unworthy. And it's interesting because when I do unworthy, because it's such a big one and it pretty much ruled my whole life for 30 years, I go back to, hey Greer, I go all the way back to when I was a fetus. And even actually before I was a fetus, when my grandmother, my mother's mother, was pregnant. I think this wound started back then because she lost some of her babies at home, miscarriages. And so did my dad's mom. She died in childbirth. So they're unworthy of life. And that's such a deep wound for me. And so what it shows me is that I have to protect myself and I have to take care of myself. And so the final step is what you do to get rid of that emotion is that you promise that inner child that every single one of them, it's versions of yourself when the wounds initially happened. And again, this is what filled up that gestalt, that little bag I was telling you about earlier. But you promise yourself that you are going to love yourself. And let's just say that unworthy Cindy needed food, okay? Because I was born really low birth weight, and so I think that I did not have enough food in utero. So you're gonna promise myself that I'm gonna give you healthy food. So I'll just say, all right, Cindy, little fetus Cindy, I'm gonna give you the food that you need. And then I say to the little 14-year-old Cindy who was getting sexually mistreated in her house, I am going to speak up for you, and I am never going to let that happen to you. I'm going to kick those boys out of my bed. I'm going to open up the door, turn on the light, run up the street to wherever my mom and dad were and say, Mom and Dad, someone's touching me. Get this party out of my house. Stop letting David have these parties in their house. And I tell myself that because that time is gone, and I can't do anything about that. About when it was then, but I can do something about it now. And then also I said, what else does that Cindy need? Well, that Cindy she told me that she needed to help protect other little girls that are 14 years old and around that time frame. So anyone that lives around me or that knows me, you know that I love children and that I do, whether my neighborhood, I'm looking at my neighbors right now. There's two little 14-year-old girls right now that over there, and then a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old over there. And I'm over there taking care of them, loving on them all the time. I bring them little treats. I read them books, take them on golf cart rides, whatever's appropriate, take them to get ice cream. And I'm just one other adult that will take care of them and protect them from anything crappy happening. And then just go through all of your phases of your life where you may have felt like you were unworthy, and just resource yourself right then and there. Just, you can do it silently and in the comfort of your own, inside your mind, and teach yourself that you are worthy to be protected, that you are going to be there for yourself, and then you are not going to ever let anything like that happen to that little kid ever again. Because you are actually the mother of that version of yourself now. So 51-year-old Cindy is the mother of the in utero Cindy, and she's the mother of the 14-year-old Cindy when all that stuff started happening. And she's the mother of the 31-year-old Cindy who started just believing terrible things about herself and wreaked havoc in her marriage. So anyway, that's how it starts. That's how you actually get rid of those negative effects of the emotion. You realize that your emotions are there to serve you. So I hope that helps. That's an overview, a very brief overview. Again, if you're ready to get healing from this, I'll put the realdrcindy.com/apply link down below. Yeah, I have to talk to my husband's inner child. And you will, Andrea, if you work with me and if you do this inner work, you will actually deal with everything about your husband. You think your husband is a terrible person. Sometimes you realize they are wounded too, and you see them in a much more sympathetic light. But it would be my pleasure, my honor, and my joy to talk to you guys individually, one-on-one. Again, what I offer is a 12-week transformational program, and I always tell people it's not cheap and it's not easy, and the least way you'll pay is with money. The most expensive way to pay is actually with your time that you have to give to yourself. For 12 weeks, you have to go into some deep, dark places, and you have to do some really deep healing. And it might be scary, but to me, what's scarier is living the whole rest of your life not feeling like you're free and in control. So anyway, we're opening enrollment now, and if you're not ready to do that healing and you don't want to go to those deep, scary places, that's okay too. No guilt, no shame. You're not broken. Just do anything the way that you can. Just bring in awareness helps all of it, and you can just go with me along every Tuesday at 10 Central. 10 a.m. Eastern, and we will just go through little bits of the healing together. But when you're ready, instead of to not do it piecemeal, and you're just ready to get all the healing once and for all, please book a call and I'll see if you're ready. But it's been my pleasure talking to you guys. Yeah, Greer, it's such a true cost of not getting help. You just I don't know how many of y'all have had enough there's no other way to put it, and to me personally, but death and destruction. But you just this trauma, this unhealed trauma, has caused so much death and destruction, literally and figuratively. And when you're tired of living your life like that, just know that there is a light on the other end of the tunnel, so that all that will be completely cleared, and you will be able to really use your gifts and talents that God gave you. So once you heal yourself, then you can go on and have all of that access to yourself, so you can go out and be the truest, boldest version of yourself that you really want to do, and have all the hopes and dreams that you want in your life. But anyway, it's been my pleasure talking to y'all. I know I went a little bit over today. But I just really wanted to cover a lot, and I will see you guys next Tuesday at 10. And just if you guys are here to listen to the replay, give me a hashtag replay and tell me what your biggest takeaway from this was, and tell me what else you would like to hear about. I have the next 15 weeks all set up, but I am open to change whatever you guys need. But I love you guys. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.